talk to me a little bit about resilience. What does that mean to you, and why is that why is that an important quality?
I mean, resilience, perseverance, toughness, all those things. I think, I guess the biggest lesson that if I could teach anyone about this stuff is you're not like born with these traits. Okay, it's a myth that you're born tough. It's a myth that you're born confident. It's a myth that you were just born to persevere. All those things are learned habits. They're created uh, habits that we learn over time. So you can build your own confidence. You can build how to be resilient. Uh, and for me, it's like what does resilience look like to each person? Because my resilience may be different than yours, or my concept of failing may be different than yours. So I think the two things are it's important to understand that they're learned traits, and it's important of what that means to you, because if you can't be resilient until you define what that actually means in the first place. So for me, resilience would be uh, the ability, whether the times are good or bad, to continue, like you could say, like fighting the good fight, or to continue on your path. That's resilience.
What do
Because
you do when you're in a slump, a hitting slump in baseball? How do you get out of that?
man, I wish I knew, but um, a big thing for me is I'm a communicator. So when things aren't going good, I like to like talk someone's ear off, basically, to kind of vent all of my frustration, anger, sadness, whatever it may be. I try and get it all out, but at the same time, I'm a big journaler. I'm a journaler of good things, of bad things. I enjoy putting things down because I feel there's a couple reasons why I like doing it. Number one, it's a good way to just kind of get all these thoughts in my head out. The good, the bad, the ugly, I get them all out, because the more I just hold on to them up here, I'm using space for things I shouldn't be using it for. That my brain is like a file cabinet, and I need, as much space as I can to put in the good stuff. So the more I'm holding on to my anxious thoughts about my slump or whatever it may be, uh, the worse that's going to be for me. But when I put them on paper, I'm able to kind of flush them out. And the other reason I like doing it too is things that I feel like I've learned that day, things that kind of made the light bulb go off in my head, whatever it may be. When you put those down, you're essentially making it real. Because when you keep in your head, it's still just your imagination, it's still your thoughts. So when you put those things down on paper, it makes it real. It makes it something you can go back to. It kind of helps you keep a log, so you can continue to build off of that first step that you put on that piece of paper.
Well, what's an example? This is like a cardinal sin to like go and steal somebody's journal and look through it, but I'm going to do exactly that, Dansby. What's an example of something that you've written in your journal, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, it's actually in my backpack in my room, and my girlfriend's sleeping, so not gonna go wake her up. But let's say most recent, like in spring training. The spring training is a time where we're all trying to kind of get back into the rhythm, the game, get back in the flow. And there's certain days where I'll have the opportunity to hit a lot, maybe after the day is over, with some coaches that I really mesh well with. And so I'll go in there, we'll really hash some things out, discuss what it is that I'm feeling, what it is that we're both seeing, how to get the most out of myself. And essentially you're coming up with cues
Hmm.
that are gonna help you when you get off track. You can, or either when you get off track or just in your everyday prep work, focusing on, okay, I need to make sure that I'm focused on this body position or whatever it may be. So I go home and I pretty much write down our conversation. Like, okay, when I'm going good and I'm doing this, this is what happens. Uh, when you feel this way, this is the cause of it. Like if this is the bad habit that I'm doing, this is what the result kind of looks like. Uh, I just kind of write down all the little things that we discussed to help me build this like inventory essentially of the do's and don'ts, the things that help me be a better hitter, and the things that kind of take away or will kind of prohibit me from hitting the way I want to.
What are the things that you want to try to learn and develop over the next year?
I deal with a lot of like stress and anxiety. I mean, I wouldn't say obviously, but being at the level that I'm at, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of sleepless nights just because of you're wanting to do better, you're wanting to play better, and all those kinds of things. So better managing my own personal, stress and anxiety is a big thing for me.
Mhm.
And I've been able to find people that I use like as like therapists basically to help allow me to get the bad thoughts out of this file cabinet, and get them out. Um, that's a really big thing for me. And then the other
It-
thing too is I
it-
every year like I want to continually find ways to impact other people. Like I'm big community believer. Um, so trying to find ways to make people that aren't as fortunate as me, that give them a chance to have a better life, basically.
well, I think that in a sense, just talking about it accomplishes both of those goals. I think when Kevin Love, talked about anxiety, and there are so many athletes and so many great leaders that have so much stress because of the roles that they're in. I mean, to me, it's a very positive thing, and it's becoming more and more encouraged, at Vanderbilt and on campuses across the country to really deal head on with that. I mean, what have been some of the benefits of you dealing head on with some of the anxieties that come with the tremendous pressures of being a major league baseball player?
Yeah, I might go on a little bit of a long spiel here, but uh, first thing, the most important thing is really understanding who you are and accepting that. I think it sounds cliche, just like accept yourself, but at the end of the day, like for me, even in my relationship per se, I'm the more of the like emotional one, which is when if you were to look at traditionally, like that is not how it should be,
You mean with
it,
you and your girlfriend?
yes,
Uh-huh.
like I would be more the emotional one. And and like it took me a little while to understand, like, okay, that's not traditionally what a guy should be, that a guy should be more of the emotional one, but that's me. I would say a big thing that I want people to understand too is like we're in this movement these days of like this self-esteem, I just want to be happy kind of culture. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, because I think that's a little dramatic, but I think it's important for people to understand that we as humans and in our life are like we're supposed to experience the whole spectrum of life and emotions. Like it's important to understand and experience disappointment. It's important and understand to experience anger and frustration and sadness. Like that, those kind of things allow you to have a whole life. Because times where I feel like when we're only looking for a happy life or do what makes us happy, I really feel like we're only living, you know, a half life. And when I say that, I'm saying like if you were to fill, if you were to say your life is a glass and you were to pour water in it, when we're only living for what makes us happy, I really feel that we're only pouring about 50% of what that glass is capable of holding. But when you experience all those other things, when you try new things and you're disappointed, when you work really, really hard and don't get what you want, um, you know, experiencing loss, whether it's in sport, whether it's a loved one, whether it's, all these things, like, I'm not saying that you should want for any of that to happen, but those things are going to happen and they're going to make you better for it. So the more we can understand that we can experience this full spectrum of uh, emotions, experiences, situations, um, I feel like the higher we can reach, like the potential that we can tap into is way further. So not saying that you should want to fail or should want to lose, but those things really will take you from, instead of getting to a level 6, you could get to a level 9 just by um, just by experiencing those losses and those failures. But what I was going to say too is I would say trying things. Like, how can you know what your purpose is when you haven't tried a bunch of different things, especially if you feel like you have not found it yet? what's the harm in trying things, experiencing new things, really putting yourself in a vulnerable position to grow. And I feel like it's kind of just on the other side of that door.
But what if you fail?
Who cares? What is failure? Like
Mm.
that, what do you define as failure? Because we talk about this all the time, on the team. It's like failing, the only sense of failure that we know is if you were to lose and you were to not try again the next day.
Mm.
Sometimes we lose, yeah, but when you get back up the next day and you go back and you try again, that how's that failing? Like, what is failure? There's actually for anybody that wants to go look, there's a really, really, really good video of Kobe talking to Jameel Hill about failure. And I would advise anyone to listen to him speak. God rest his soul, but for him to speak and listen to his words, because it's like truly like remarkable. But there's one where he talks about failure. It's probably like a 4.5, 5 minute video. And it's like, he says the same thing. He's like, what is failure? Like we talk about failing, but what is it? It's not real. It's something that we've basically created in our heads. It's not something that's actually real. So
In sports, Dan, and I totally agree, but just because I'm a pain, I'm going to play devil's advocate and
yep.
just say, like in sports, especially in baseball, that it's so statistic and metrics driven. It's so easy for at least fans to say, well, this is a win or a loss. For example, he hit or he didn't. Here's his batting average. I mean, is failure and is success more easy to discern in something like baseball?
Well, I mean, when you say the best, the best of the best fail 7 out of 10 times, like it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. So it once again, it goes back to understanding how are you going to define failure? How are you going to define success? And if you're defining it strictly as getting a hit or not, then you're going to be in a tough, like in a rude awakening. But if you're defining it as, all right, I was successful because I went up to the plate, I understood what my plan was, and I executed my plan. Now, maybe I didn't get a hit, and that's okay, but I executed my plan. And, having that mentality is basically the best one, especially for baseball, because you are going to fail even when you do things right. Really enjoy the nature, really enjoy spending time where the world, since it has slowed down, you slow down and you understand kind of where to go and how to create these good habits to go forward. Because like I said, creating that new rhythm, it takes time. It takes 3-4 weeks, sometimes 5 or 6. And that's kind of the long haul we're in right now. So why not take advantage of those moments and opportunities to grow? Like shut down. When sports are shut down, like that's how I know, things have been shut down, because that is my life pretty much 24/7. But I would say another thing too, as my dog is coming in here and playing with me.
Let's see your dog.
Yeah.
All right.
So